Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 23.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hey there, everybody. It is Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast. And for the first time in our 22-episode podcast journey, I'm doing this podcast on my own. My co-host and friend, Toby Jenkins, is away this weekend, and we couldn't line up our diaries, so we decided we would run another experiment and have me do this one on my own. So we'd certainly love to know what you think. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. You'll be taken behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments where we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works. This show is brought to you by a new book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus templates that go with it. If you'd like to get your hands on the 33 free marketing templates, head over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Now, the topic for today's show is blogging, and I'm going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly with it. And it's based on my personal journey because it hasn't all been rosy. There have been many times where I've considered giving up, but I'm actually very glad that I've stuck with it. And there's been a few revelations along the way that I want to share with you. Now, let me backtrack a little bit and start by saying that I started blogging in 2008 on my Blue Wire Media blog. It was actually December 2008, so right towards the end of the year. And up until that point, I'd heard a lot of people singing the praises of blogging, and basically the mantra was, if you publish remarkable stuff on your blog, people will find you and you'll grow your audience and all your marketing dreams will come true. And that on its own probably isn't great advice because it's not the whole story. Yes, it's part of the story, but there's definitely some bits missing. That advice on its own is what I was following at the time, and I was certainly well prepared for, I guess, what people might call the 3-month wall. You know, people give up after 3 months because it takes that long to see some sort of traction. And, you know, certainly a lot of bloggers give up at the 12-month mark as well. And that was something that, you know, a pro blogger, one of Australia's best bloggers, actually told me at his pro blogger event. And I was certainly well and truly ready for that challenge. But it was interesting because 2 years in and over nearly 300 blog posts of myself and my team at Blue Wire, and we hadn't really got the traction that I was hoping for. And my only thought at the time was that, you know, if you publish remarkable stuff, people will find you. Then nobody was finding us. Therefore, my writing mustn't be remarkable. And that's something that I could live with, definitely. But I'd put a lot of effort into it, and we'd done nearly 300 posts. I just kind of thought, well, maybe it's not for me, and was on the verge of giving up. I'm glad I didn't, because around that same time, I was on a website called Business to Community, and it's quite a big blog, it's quite a big website, and on it I saw a post by a fellow Australian, a guy called Jeff Bullis, and he is, in my opinion, one of the top 2 bloggers in Australia, him and Darren Rouse, aka Pro Blogger, and I had noticed that his article had been syndicated with Business to Community. So first thing I did was actually reach out to Jeff and say, hey, is this legit? Have you authorized this, or are these guys plagiarizing your content? He wrote back and said, you know, it's all legit. I've just chosen to syndicate my content so I can reach a bigger audience. And here's the people you need to speak to if you're keen to do the same. So I did. I reached out to Business to Community, and fortunately I was met with approval by their team, and they let me syndicate my Blue Wire Media blog with theirs. And this was a huge step because, you know, up until that point, I was only getting, a maximum of, say, 10 tweets on average for a blog post. In fact, 10 tweets is generous. Most often it was less than that, or if it did get up to 10, we had 10 staff at the time. It was probably our team being really quite generous and tweeting my articles. But when I had my first syndicated blog post on Business to Community, it had over 100 tweets. And that was a huge relief for me because I guess it validated that my writing was actually okay. And that I sort of thought, well, if exactly the same article can get 10 tweets on my blog, yet over 100 tweets on this more popular blog, then it's not the writing that's making the difference. There's something else. And obviously, listening to this, you realize, as I did at the time, that it's the audience that you're writing for that makes a tremendous difference as well. The same article, but a vastly different 10x different result. And so from then on, I realized this is a much better approach to my blogging. If I can be syndicating it, so I'm having it on my own blog, but also Business to Community's blog, then that is a much more powerful way to be getting my writing and thoughts in front of other people. So that was the first step. The second realization was also partly a stroke of luck because at that time I was lucky enough to be approached by Smart Company's sister website, which they were about to launch at the time, called Startup Smart, and I was offered a spot as a foundation contributor. So I contributed a guest blog post on a fortnightly basis, and it was unpaid, but I realized there was huge value in that because it meant that I would be writing for a new audience. And that's the key, as we learnt from the syndicating story with Business to Community. If you've got an audience to write for, that's a lot easier than building your own audience from scratch. And I certainly recommend that you do both, but you can be doing them simultaneously by syndicating your content and writing for other people. And I do actually recommend writing probably as much as 70, maybe even 80% of your content for other people's blog, particularly if you're starting out and you're looking to get that traction. Because what writing for other people's blogs does is not only do you write for a new audience of real readers who are human beings who may one day become your customer, but you're really getting on people's radar, you're getting on the blogger's radar, you're getting on their reader's radar, you're getting a backlink from Google, and if you're smart about it, you may well link to landing pages on your website in your author bio, which most people will grant you is like a couple of lines to give a bio about yourself. If you have a link in that to a landing page where people can download a flagship piece of content, which we've spoken about on previous episodes. But see, that way you can also be growing your email list as well if people come to that landing page and choose to sign up to receive your flagship piece of content. So to recap, I was on the verge of giving up because my blog wasn't getting much traction. I then syndicated it, and I then started doing guest blogging on a regular basis for an audience that was a good match to the people that could potentially become buyers of my products and services. I'm really glad that I did stick with it because we've certainly been fortunate enough to be named on Australia's top 20 business blogs from, I think, 2010 through till 2013. And just this year, we were on Australian Writers' Centre's Best Business Blog finalist. So it was a short list of, I think, 5 or 6 blogs. So there's certainly been some nice accolades to come from it. But most importantly, it's such a great opportunity to be sharing your thoughts and to be documenting what's going on in your business and in your own journey, not to mention attracting the attention of readers and to start earning their trust as well. I certainly do recommend it as a marketing strategy, but purely blogging for your own blog in isolation can be fraught with danger. So please take a leaf out of my book and the mistakes I've made and lessons I've learnt. And syndicate it and blog for other people's website as well. So thank you for tuning in to the very first podcast with just myself, Adam. I'd love to know what you think. If you could shoot to us an email, certainly feel free. I'm adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au, and on Twitter it's @Franklin_Adam. Our intent is to deliver actionable advice, so your feedback and questions are always welcome. Please let us know via the email and Twitter that I just gave you. And this show is brought to you by our book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. So head over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.